Hello, I'm Ashley from Through the Loop Yarn Craft, and today we are going to make the Remi Chunky Cowl. This cowl uses number 5 bulky weight yarn, and it features some neat stitches to get the kind of knit look effect for the rows. The pattern is made longer so that you can wear it nice and scrunched up and loose fitting, or you can fold it over for a different style as well. For this pattern, I am using Knit Picks Billow yarn, which is a nice soft yarn, and it has variations of thickness throughout it as well. Some parts get a little thinner and some a little thicker. So it's a really fun, nice, warm yarn to use. We'll also be using a 8mm crochet hook. When the cowl is laid flat like this, it's about 12 inches wide and 15 inches tall. For this pattern, you'll want to have a good understanding of different crochet stitches, especially using different slip stitches and back loop only. But we will go through all the rows so that you can get a good feel for how the repeats work. So we need to grab our number 5 bulky weight yarn and our 8mm crochet hook and get ready to crochet the Remi Chunky Cowl. All right, so to begin, we are going to do a chain of 41 stitches. So we're just going to make our slip knot and chain 41. And 41. And that is our beginning chain. Now for row 1, and this is the right side of our fabric, we're going to begin with a double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook. And these chains that we're skipping will count as a double crochet. So all of our turning chains on double crochet rows will count as 1 stitch. And then we're just going to double crochet in each chain along. So 3rd chain from the hook, 1, 2, 3, double crochet. So there we have 2 stitches because this is going to count as a stitch. And then we're just going to double crochet in each chain across. And there we go. And now we want to finish with 40 stitches in row 1. And then we will chain 2 and turn. And for row 2 again, that chain 2 counts as our first double crochet. And we're just going to do double crochets across for row 2. So because this counts as our first double crochet, we're not going to stitch right here. We're going to move to this next spot and double crochet. And then just double crochet in each stitch across. And then the last stitch right in the top of that first stitch. and that completes row 2. At the end of row 2, we want to chain 1 and turn. So this time it does not count as a stitch. Now row 3 is the first row of our repeat rows, and this time we're going to use a stitch called the half double crochet slip stitch in the back loop only. If you've never done this stitch before, we will go through it for the first few stitches now, but I also have a photo tutorial and video tutorial just for this stitch that you can go look at as well. So this time we're just going to do a half double crochet slip stitch in the back loop only in the first stitch and each stitch across. So because this doesn't count, we're going to start in this very first one and we're going to use the back loop only. So instead of going under both stitches right there, we're just going to insert our hook into the back loop only. So we're going to yarn over, insert into the back loop only, pull up a loop, and then we're going to take this loop we just pulled up and bring it through these other 2 loops right away, just like that. And we're just going to repeat that all the way across. So back loop only, pull up that loop, and pull that loop right through. And that is the half double crochet slip stitch using the back loop only. And we're going to do that all the way across again for a total of 40 stitches. Once you get going with this stitch, it does become a little bit easier and less tricky. And that back loop of that first stitch can be a little tricky to find. And at the end of row 3, we're going to chain 1 again and turn. Row 4 is almost like row 3, except we're going to use the front loop only because we want to keep our pattern on the one side. So we want it to pop out the same way as our previous row. So it's exactly the same, except we're using the front loop. So again, we're going to start right in this first stitch by our chain 1. We're not going to go under both loops. We're just going to use the front loop only. So yarn over, insert into that front loop only. This first one can be a bit trickier. Pull up your loop and pull through. Front loop only. So see, there's our 2 loops, and we're going to use the front loop. I find it easier to kind of turn your project to the side for these front loop ones. And then we're just going to do that in each stitch across. So there's the 2 V's, and just under the 1. And that last one, right in that last stitch, and pull up. Again, for a total of 40 stitches. At the end of row 4, we're going to go back and chain 2 again and turn. So row 3 and 4 are 2 of our repeat rows. Now row 5 is also a repeat row. So row 3 we did back loop only. Row 4 we did front loop only. Now row 5 we're going to do back loop only, but this time we're doing double crochet again, but just in the back loop only. So this chain 2 is going to count as our stitch again. So we're going to skip this first V. We're going to go into the next one, but again using that back loop only. So yarn over, insert into the back loop only, and then double crochet. And we're just going to do that in each stitch across. and one more for a total of 40. And that completes row 5. For the end of row 5, we're going to chain 2 again and turn. And row 6 is our final repeat row, and this one is just double crochet all the way across with this first chain 2 counting as a stitch and moving into the next space, and just regular double crochet all the way across. Okay, and that completes row 6, which is our final repeat row. So as you can see, we have the right side and the wrong side. So the wrong side has less texture than our right side. This is where we get that nice going between the front loop and the back loop. Back and forth gives us this nice kind of knit look texture. So from row 7 to row 42, you just want to repeat row 3 through 6. So we're going to do, again, the half double crochet slip stitch in the back loop only. Then the next row is half double crochet slip stitch in the front loop only. Then double crochet in the back loop only. And the next row is double crochet across. So just repeat those 4 rows until you've reached row 42, and then we can meet back here and seam up to finish up the cowl. I will link below as well to the written pattern. Okay, so I'm just completing the very last stitch of row 42. And then we are going to tie off and leave a nice long tail so that we can seam together. So we're just going to pull that through and tie that off. Okay, so we have here what we are calling the right side and then the wrong side. So when I seam together, I want to have my wrong side out. Not that there's anything wrong with it, it does still have some very nice texture to it. And we're going to, you can either use your yarn needle for seaming the ends together, or just fold it in half, bring the ends up, or you can use the crochet hook and slip stitch it, whichever you prefer. For this one, I like to slip stitch across. So I'm just gonna put in the 2 corners, bring them together, and start that. And then we can just slip stitch in both sides of each stitch all the way across. Again, you can use your yarn needle and whip stitch across if you prefer that as well. So just seam those ends with your preferred method all the way across to close up the cowl. And there we have that last slip stitch, and then tie that off as well. Perfect. So now that is all seamed together, and we can turn it the right side around again. And so your seam is on the inside. And there we go. Now this one is nice and extra long, so you can wear it the 2 ways, depending on what goes with your outfit. And there you have it. That is the Remi Chunky Cowl. It's quite a quick and easy make once you just get the hang of those back loop and front loops, and of course the slip stitches, which are a little trickier at first, but you get the groove going once you've done it a few times. I will link below as well to the blog post for this, which has full description of all the materials used, as well as the free written pattern. And while you're here, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and let me know you like this tutorial, and you can pop over and watch some of my other tutorials as well. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoy making the Remi Chunky Cowl as much as I do. I can't wait to crochet with you again next time.